Welcome to another edition of Politics and Religion. Big news breaking around the world today. As Kerry met with Egyptian and Saudi leaders, there was planning that advanced for a Russian naval base in Egypt. Russia had been excluded from Egypt since about 1972. However, with the Obama administration cutting off of financial aid to the new government in Egypt. Of course, the new government overthrew the Morsi government because it was taking Egypt into Sharia law, and apparently Obama did not approve of the overthrow of the Morsi government. Apparently he was in favor of them going into Sharia law. Nevertheless, we decided to cut off aid to Egypt. Egypt retaliated by saying, we don't need your aid. Saudi Arabia said, we will replace the U.S. aid dollar for dollar. And then, of course, in the wake of Putin's victory in Syria, the U.S. left there outmaneuvered and defeated. The government of Russia, the government of Iran, and the other governments that were allied with Syria have come out the winners. Now that it looks like Russian hegemony is being reestablished throughout the Middle East. Now, this is very alarming for a lot of people. I don't know whether some of our listeners would remember or not, but Russia used to be a very powerful player. Russia was the military supplier to Egypt, also to Saudi Arabia, also to Syria. Well, it looks like we're going back to those days now due to the policies of the Obama administration, and it's alarming to some people. Let me give you some excerpts from some of these, from this particular article. Moscow's request for a naval base in Egypt, submitted last week by a visiting Russian general, prompted U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's decision to hurry up and visit Cairo and Riyadh, of course Riyadh being the capital of Saudi Arabia, for an attempt to smooth their prickly relations over Washington's policies for Syria and Iran. However, Sunday, November 3rd, the day he stopped over in Cairo en route to Riyadh, saw a mighty buildup of Russian naval strength in the Mediterranean. Russia's Pacific Fleet flagship and the powerful nuclear-fueled battleship arrived to carry out a number of tasks with other Russian Navy ships in the region, according to the official statement from Moscow. The Russian fleet has moved into the vacuum left by the withdrawal of U.S. warships, which followed President Barack Obama's decision not to attack Syria's chemical weapons. It has established the largest Russian presence ever. Let me read it again. It has established the largest Russian presence ever in the Mediterranean, with the strongest firepower of any other force in the eastern and central stretches of this water. Russian warships are now present opposite Cyprus, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Egypt, the Suez Canal, and Libya. The article goes on to say that Debka's military sources say that a naval base at any of the ports that are being proposed by Russia will give Russia a foothold on a central Mediterranean shore and make it the only superpower with a naval and military presence in control of the vastly important Suez Canal to world shipping and trade, and the principal marine link connecting U.S. naval and military forces in the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf. That no joint communique was issued before Kerry departed Cairo and also Riyadh illustrated the intractability of their feud with Washington. Normally when a very important person visits another country and has talks with the leaders of that country, they will normally issue a communique, a press release or something. It did not happen in this case. Now, in his visit to Egypt, speaking of John Kerry, his visit to Egypt was the first by a senior U.S. official since Mohamed Morsi was deposed as president in July, and the first to Saudi Arabia since intelligence chief Prince Bandar bin Sultan warned last month of a shift away from Washington and announced Saudi abdication of its seat on the UN Security Council after Riyadh, the Secretary of State, continues his Middle East tour, arriving Tuesday night in Jerusalem, that's right now, of course, and meeting Palestinian leaders in Bethlehem Wednesday. He will also make stops in Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Algeria, and Morocco. Mr. John Kerry, of course, is a veteran politician with vast experience in foreign affairs. He is certainly making tremendous waves in his time as Secretary of State. And of course, it's been a short time, but a lot has happened during this particular time. But the biggest thing that we have to realize is that Russia is actually right now making progress in infiltrating the Middle East. That's alarming at its core because of what the prophecies say. The prophecies tell us that Russia is going to end up leading the invasion of Israel at the Battle of Armageddon. It's obvious that all these developments that we're dealing with right now, that's in today's news actually, are preparing the way, setting the table. Now, we know that the invasion of Israel by Russia, by Iran, by Ethiopia, by Libya, these nations are specifically named in the Bible, that they will invade Russia at the time of the Battle of Armageddon. But this invasion is not to be held until at least 7-8 years from right now, depending on when the Middle East peace process is concluded, that John Kerry is working on while he's here in Jerusalem over the next 24 hours or so. So big events evolving in the Middle East. By the way, we will be taking your calls on the program today because we want to hear from you. Let me report to you about what's going on here with our tour in Israel. It's been a fabulous tour. We have such a wonderful group of people with us, and everything has been just tremendous. Today we walked down through the Kidron Valley, where the Battle of Armageddon will culminate. We stood in front of the tomb of Jehoshaphat. The Bible calls the Kidron Valley also the Valley of Jehoshaphat and prophesies that is where the Battle of Armageddon will culminate. We looked up at the eastern gate of the city of Jerusalem, which has been sealed now for 500 years. It was prophesied to be sealed and would not be opened until the coming of the Messiah. If you'd like to read about that, you can go to Ezekiel chapter number 44. It states there that the eastern gate will be sealed because the Lord hath entered into it. That's the gate that Jesus went through on his triumphal entry into Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. So we stood and we, as I do every year when I'm here, I look in awe at that gate, standing there sealed, waiting the coming of the Lord to this earth, Messiah. And when Jesus comes, that gate will swing open and he will enter into the Temple Mount area through that gate. The Bible says that. Read it for yourself. It's Ezekiel chapter 44, and it's amazing that that gate is standing there sealed for at least 500 years. It's been sealed. Well, we were standing there in the shadow of that gate. We're standing in front of the tomb of Jehoshaphat, and if you'd like to read about the role of Jehoshaphat, you can go to Joel chapter number 3. Then we walked down a couple of hundred feet, and we stood in front of the tomb of Zechariah, the most frequent writer concerning the Battle of Armageddon. And as we stood there, we were reading from Zechariah chapter number 12, Zechariah chapter number 14, because it talks about Jerusalem in the end time. It says there that Jerusalem will be made a troublesome stone, and all who burden themselves with it will be cut to pieces. And then it goes on to say that God will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, right there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And the Bible says there God will exercise his wrath and his vengeance. He will judge the nations right there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Now, we were walking through that valley just today. That's the reason the end time tours are so amazing, because we don't just talk about what happened here 2,000 years ago when Jesus and his disciples walked this earth, and other events throughout history. But we talk about the future and what is getting ready to happen. So today was an incredible experience as we move through the different areas of the city of Jerusalem. We will be leaving Jerusalem in the morning, by the way, but it's been a great and marvelous time. We will be moving toward the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus lived, where he made his home and spent most of his ministry. So anyway, just an update on what's going on here in the nation of Israel. If you'd like to be on the air with us today, the number to call is 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. To reach our operators, maybe you would inquire about our next trip to Israel. I'm sure that you would like to be along. The next trip to Israel will be held it will begin either late April and finish in early May, or it will be the first couple of weeks in May. So if you'd like to be with us when we're here next spring, you can go ahead and call right now, leave your name, and as soon as we get all the details, send the information to you. You can start planning right now. It's not too early to do that. So just an absolutely fabulous time. I've come to Israel. This is my 25th trip. And yet it seemed like this year, more than ever, prophecy is just being fulfilled on every side. We took our tour group up to see the new college today. The work is not finished yet on the college. However, we are beginning the first class on the 12th, which will be a week from this. It's a week from yesterday. So it's going to be the first class of Endtime of the Jerusalem Prophecy College will be held. I'll be personally teaching that class right here in downtown Jerusalem. So amazing things are happening. I want to pause and thank all of you that have contributed to the Prophecy College and also to the continuing remodeling and the preparation of that college. This college is going to serve to teach the people of Israel the prophecies of the Bible all the way till the coming of Jesus Christ, all the way till the rapture. So we have launched something very significant here over the last few days, and so many thanks to all of you that have helped make that possible. And we are continuing to plan for the future over the next few years as the prophecies of the Bible unfold. Well, we'll be right back in a moment. If you'd like to call us, 877-END-TIME is the number.